Welcome to Spitbucket. Today we got something a bit different. I'm only here briefly to introduce you to what are one of the great award competitions run in the world of wine. It's only run in Australia, and it is the CIVC Champagne Awards. What we've got for you tonight is the awards, the 2010 award ceremony. And so you're looking at now 2012 before you'll be able to enter, but you can always practice for 2 years. Go now to the awards, see who wins, enjoy yourself, cheers. And remember, from Spitbucket, sometimes we spit so you don't have to.
Thanks, Ken, for introducing the event. We're here at Alliance Française in Clarence Street, and we have a jam-packed program for you. We're going to speak to the really interesting people at this event. We've got the winemakers, the judges, and just general people who are passionate about champagne. Follow me, the event's about to start.
Champagne Awards have been running for over 35 years, and what our aim is to find ambassadors that can spread the word and knowledge of champagne. There's 3 categories: professional, student and amateur. What they win is basically a 2-week trip to Champagne where they'll further their knowledge and palate for champagne and come back all ready to spread the good word on champagne in Australia.
There's one unique thing about champagne is in all great dinners in history, there's one unifying thing about all of them. They always serve a champagne because you can't toast with anything else. The moment you pick up a flute, it says celebration, joy, excellence, happiness, success. Dom Perignon was a Benedictine monk who lived in a village called Auvilliers, and we give him credit as the godfather of champagne. People have been experimenting about how to get bubbles in to bottles, and we think it was actually the English that made an apple cider first. But this is the man that made the first press to extract just white juice from black grapes. He did an assemblage, blended it, put it in the cellars underneath the ground, all underneath the ground in the chalk, and then of course took it out a couple of years later and opened it and of course tasted this amazing bubbly wine and called and said, "Come brothers, I think I am tasting the stars." That was in 1670.
What do we do when we're judging the awards? Just quickly, I'll run through it in case some of you here haven't heard how it's done before. There is, of course, a written paper, which is the first thing, the pre-selection. And people have to answer something like 7 questions with an essay for each question. So it's quite a long and quite a testing written paper. Now, when we get everybody together, this year we had 4 people in the amateur section, 4 people in the professional section, and 2 in the student section. They all come to Sydney for today's judging. What happens then is we go into a little room, and it's a fairly intimidating procedure. I would hope it's not. We try to make it relaxed and friendly and chatty, but it must be a bit daunting to sit on the other side of a panel of 4 rather tough-looking draconian people like us. And we ask them a few questions. We ask them about 4 or 5 questions, and we prompt them and we get them to talk as much as they can and to display their knowledge on the subjects. We choose subjects which are, I guess, from 4 broad areas: viticulture and winemaking, marketing, the market itself, and economic circumstances, all that kind of thing, the service and cellaring and presentation of champagne, and I guess food, wine, and that sort of thing as well. The other part of it is that we have the tasting exam. In other words, they're given 3 wines to taste before we go into the room. They are asked to write their comments on a sheet of paper, and then when we come into the room, they are actually asked more questions verbally about those wines.
So the finalists in the student section are Cameron O'Keefe from Victoria and Yuri Berns from Curtin University.
And the winner is Yuri Berns.
Firstly, I'd like to thank, I suppose, the CIBC for allowing and promoting such an award to exist, and for those people that are actually passionate and interested in champagne. It's a great honour to be involved in a night like this. Definitely like to thank Cass Restaurant for putting on a great show.
The winner, eventually, is Professor Tim Sullivan.
I think I probably have to thank Bernadette for inspiring me to greater things in champagne. I had merely just thought it was a wonderful aperitif drink, and I had a great wall of Australian red wine, but now for the last 10 years I've only bought champagne and I'm addicted. I also have to thank my wife Tricia, who has a much better palate than I do, a much better palate memory, and she's taught me a lot as well, and has organised blind tastings over the last several months that have been very, very instructive and helpful. Martin McAdam, who was the, I think, 2006 winner in the amateur area, he's had a very logical pathway for teaching you how to flow diagram analyse wines, which was very, very useful. So.
And the winner is Greg Plowes.
It's been really hard studying for this. I have so much champagne. But first and foremost, thanks to my partner Andy. Every night, should we open a bottle of champagne? Well, we should. It's homework. It's study. So thanks first and foremost to Andy. Thanks to Elisabeth, to Peter, to Huon, to Peter, and of course to Bernadette as well. And the CIBC and the Champagne Bureau. Thank you.
What are your future plans now?
Obviously finish university, and then to be able to work in Champagne would be an honour. And to be able to work in other sparkling regions around the world would be the aim as well.
Is your passion with the vineyard or with the winemaking itself?
I suppose the unforgotten sort of spokesman, I suppose, is the vineyard. I think that great wine is made in the vineyard and not in the winery. I think visiting individual terroirs and amazing sites is basically the key to great wine, and if you can understand that, then you can understand how great wine is made.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tim Sullivan, and in my real life I'm a professor of ophthalmology at the University of Queensland, where I focus on saving people's sight, but in my spare time I am a champagne aficionado, and I've been guided by Miss Bernadette O'Shea in that pursuit, and over a 10-year period that has led me from not really understanding the wine at all to being fortunate enough to win the Vin De Champagne Amateur Award.
What do you look for in a champagne when you taste it?
Well, I think you want to look for balance, structure, and nice acidity, wonderful floral notes, citrus, fruit flavours. From the Pinot you want to have red flavours, strawberries, raspberries, those sorts of things. And the current crop of NVs have that in spades. So just about any non-vintage you want to drink at the moment is beautiful.
Greg, congratulations. You've just taken out the professional category for the champagne tasting. How does it feel?
It feels pretty good. At the moment I'm a bit speechless. Yep.
So can you give us some indication of what you had to do to get up to this stage?
I think try a lot of champagnes and try a lot of wines over a long period of time. I think that's probably the secret to it. I mean, there's only so much you can study and you can read, but at the end of the day, you have to drink and try a lot of champagnes as much as you can. Throw
away the vintage charts and get the corkscrew out. Is that the best advice we can give?
Well, I think you have to be very broad-minded and try sparkling wines and champagnes across a very broad spectrum, and be open to all different styles, different houses. Yeah.
And do you have any future plans? You've just taken out the major category.
Sure. Well, I plan to go to Champagne in about a month's time and maybe try a few nice champagnes.
Well, Well, congratulations from us at Spitbucket, and all the best.
Thank you very much.
Where do you see the future of champagne going in Australia? It's obviously got a strong following.
Oh, look, champagne in Australia has always had, I think, a disproportionately good following. We've been in the top 10 consistently in world markets. We've held that position during the GFC. While other markets have slumped, we've relatively held our own. I mean, we've had a bit of a drop here too, but it hasn't been as bad as some others.
Do you think there's a trend towards, in the Australian market, towards these little house producers and away from the big brands?
Definitely. When I started off in the wine business, I was retailing in Sydney in the early to mid 80s. And in those days there was hardly any boutique champagne, hardly any little grower champagnes, none of this wonderful diversity of biodynamic growers and low dosage people and low input people who are making more and more natural champagne. And champagne naturally is one of the more difficult wines to make that way. It's a heavily manipulated wine by nature, by definition. So for people to make it that way is hard, but it's also a reflection of what's happening in the general wine market. You see in all regions of the world people are trying to make more interesting wines, less manipulated wines, more natural wines and wines that reflect the terroir, the vineyard site, the place where they're growing their grapes.
You've seen it here first on Spitbucket. We have seen the head sommelier at Tetsuyas give us his take out the major prize, in fact. We've had the young palates of Australia come through and show us what they know. We've had the old gurus of Australian wine show us even more knowledge. And in the end, this is what champagne's all about. It's about experiencing the bottle, cracking it open for a celebration, or as these people say, just for a drink over dinner. Well, I'm going to go inside and pick their brain for a little bit longer. I'm Tim Shaw from Spitbucket, and remember, we spit so you don't have to.